In every era, there are companies and industries that define the future. The car replaced the horse, computers replaced filing cabinets, and e-commerce disrupted retail. The people who spotted these trends early, well, they weren't just lucky, they were paying attention. And well, they most likely got rich because of it. And of course, today the same thing is happening with industries like space exploration, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And these aren't just buzzwords. They're solving massive problems and creating entirely new markets. And here's the best part. You don't need to bet the farm. Even a small investment, something like 5 or 10% of your portfolio, could pay off in ways that completely change your life and, of course, your financial future. So with all that being said, welcome to the video that I hope will inspire you to think differently and maybe even change your entire life. First things first, we gotta learn from history. And these are some of the early bets that paid off. You see, back in the early 1900s, Henry Ford had this crazy idea: make cars affordable for the average person. People laughed.
Why would I need a car when I've got a perfectly good horse?
But by 1927, Ford had sold 15 million Model Ts. The investors who believed in his vision, well, they made fortunes. And Apple had a very similar history. You see, in the 1980s, personal computers were a niche product. They were expensive, and it was kind of a novelty to have one. Apple was also a sort of quirky company in a garage. Today, Apple's worth over $3 trillion. Early shareholders saw returns that would blow your mind. And just to give you another example, Jeff Bezos also started by selling books online. Very niche and not a lot of interest at first. People mocked him, but now Amazon controls nearly 40% of the US e-commerce market. Those who bought in early are multi-millionaires or even billionaires. So, what you gotta remember is history doesn't just repeat itself, it rhymes. And right now, we're seeing the next wave of transformational industries. And I hope with this lens, we can now move into what I think to be the industries of the future. And I could be wrong, but let's dive in deeper to see if you might agree with me on what I think is the future. Let's break it down. These are the industries that could define the next century and the companies leading the charge. First, we have the industry of space exploration. Now look, this is a very new industry and there's going to be a lot of competition and also a lot of mistakes. So you have to remember that even though it's super exciting, it's going to come with a lot of risk. Space isn't just about going to Mars or going to the moon again. It's about unlocking resources and reshaping industries here on Earth. And of course, we kind of have an idea of who the key players might be, SpaceX being one, since they're leading the charge with reusable rockets and Starlink satellites, which hopefully will pave the way for affordable space access. But there's also, of course, less known companies like Astroforge, which is hopefully going to innovate the asteroid mining market for rare minerals that could power our tech for decades. We also have Spin Launch, which is developing a new way to launch satellites into orbit at a fraction of the cost. It's an amazing technology. And of course, there's a lot of technologies that are shaping this industry. Key technologies like reusable rockets, which are drastically lowering the cost of space travel. You can think about satellite internet, which Starlink and competitors are bringing internet to remote areas that never had access to internet before. And asteroid mining is another one. Well, obviously, the tech would unlock resources like platinum, cobalt, and gold from space, which who knows what will happen to the prices of these assets, but at the end of the day, the market potential is huge. The global space economy could grow from currently around 450 billion today to 1.4 trillion by 2040, according to Bank of America, which I think it could be even further depending on where the technology goes. So what are we looking for? Look for emerging private companies preparing for IPOs. Also look for partnerships between space companies and governments or big corporations. That over the next 5-10 years is where the money is going to be made. Now, the other technology I want to talk about, which is blowing up the internet and has been for the last few years, and that is artificial intelligence. Of course, AI has already changed how we live, and it's going to continue to change how we live and interact with our world. but it's just scratching the surface to this day. Of course, key players like Palantir that analyzes massive data sets to predict trends and uniform decisions. We have UiPath, which is automating repetitive tasks in industries like finance and healthcare. We also have ChatGPT, which is pioneering the conversational AI and creative applications. And those are just some of the many, many players that are entering this space and have built a product or a different use case for AI. But the key technologies that we want to look for is machine learning, which is the foundation of predictive analytics and personalization. We also want to look at NLP, which is natural language processing, tools like ChatGPT that are going to probably transform customer service, sales, things like that. The other thing is the obvious one, which is AI hardware, which is the reason why NVIDIA has had such a crazy run. Same thing with AMD and other semiconductor or hardware companies. And that's because chips like NVIDIA's GPUs optimize for AI workloads. And of course, they might not lead the space forever, but those are some of the things that you should be paying attention to. And the major reason why is because the market potential is so huge. Now, the AI market is projected to hit 1.8 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. But I think it's going to go even further. Now, the next industry I want to talk about is similar to AI, and that's robotics and automation. From the manufacturing industry to medicine, robotics is automating tasks we once thought only humans could do. And we already have key players in the space that have made themselves well known. Tesla being one, which is trying to innovate autonomous driving and create humanoid robots. We have Boston Dynamics or Hyundai that bought Boston Dynamics, which are creating impeccable robots, which are capable of complex physical tasks. We also have Medtronic using robotics for precision surgeries, which once was thought of scary and never going to happen is happening today. Outside of that, there's a lot of other players as well. But what makes this space special is the technology. Again, we're thinking humanoid robots, right? Because they're going to bridge the gap between human capability and automation and even removing menial tasks from our day-to-day lives. We're thinking collaborative robots, right? Or cobots designed to work alongside humans in industrial settings, which is going to revolutionize industries and cut costs beyond measure. And we also have surgical robots, which I think are going to be super helpful in improving precision and reducing recovery times in healthcare. And what I think we should be paying attention to is government regulations on that autonomous technology and also the adoption rates of robotics in small and medium-sized businesses. And when you couple AI with robotics, who knows about the potential that these technologies will have. Last but not least, we have one of my favorite spaces, which is fintech and digital payments. You see, fintech has been making financial systems more accessible, efficient, and transparent. And we absolutely need these systems, at least in our current day-to-day, and I think for the foreseeable future. And the key players, in my opinion, are companies like Robinhood, Coinbase, Stripe, Square, although I don't like the idea of it, but maybe Afterpay. And at the core, we also have the key technologies, which are obviously things like blockchain, which is like the foundation of decentralized finance, which I think we need, digital payment platforms that are expanding global commerce opportunities, and of course, as well as all these AI in fintech as well, because they will enhance fraud detection and protection, and also maybe even in the future, financial planning. And maybe financial planners aren't going to be human anymore. Who knows? But the market potential is huge because digital payments alone are projected to reach $20 trillion by 2026. And we're right around the corner of that. So what do we want to watch for? Well, first, we want to pay attention to how blockchain integrates into mainstream finance. And are there going to be regulatory hurdles that we need to worry about or not? And also the adoption of central bank digital currencies or CBDCs, mainly because they will probably disrupt blockchain or Bitcoin as a whole. But at the same time, they also might be the push for the reason why Bitcoin gets even more adoption. Who knows? But what I want to leave you with is not just here's the technologies, here's some companies, go and invest. No. That would probably be really risky for you, and there's some rules that you and I need to follow in order to do this properly. And of course, remember, this is not financial advice, and this is what I like to call how to spot the next big thing. So how do you identify the companies driving the future without taking huge unnecessary risks? Well, here we go. First, focus on core technologies. And what I like to ask is this: what is the particular technology enabling the industry I'm looking at? For AI, it's machine learning algorithms, right? For space, it's probably reusable rockets. Understanding the tech actually gives you the edge. And that edge will lead you to make smarter and better investment decisions. Now, next, we have starting small. Allocate 5 to 10% of your portfolio to future-focused investments. This isn't your retirement fund, it's your moonshot fund. And how you want to do this is to follow the money. Where are venture capitalists investing? Companies like OpenAI and SpaceX have secured billions in funding because investors see the potential. Another key thing is you got to diversify. Like, you can't just think, all right, I'm only gonna believe in this one company in this one industry. It doesn't work like that. The future works in strange ways. And one particular technology could be the talk of the town one day and then become whispers in the wind another. And this is the big unknown. Because we're investing into the future, you will likely have some of the most transformative companies of the future that haven't even been created yet. For example, in 1995, there was no Google. In 2000, Tesla wasn't making cars. And the next trillion-dollar idea could be in someone's garage literally right now. So when you consider that, the best investment out there are technically still being thought of, it kind of blows your mind, because you're like, oh, I could invest in this stock, I can invest in this stock and make money. There are companies out there that aren't out there. Crazy. So if you're wondering, did I miss my shot in investments and in finding the next big thing? No, there's tons of opportunity and it's waiting for you. You just have to be willing to find it. These are my closing thoughts. Start small, stay curious, and always keep your eyes on the horizon. And of course, if you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe. It really helps the channel. Honestly, costs you nothing. And at the end of the day, if it helps me, I can make more videos and then I can help you hopefully make more money.